Nobody wakes up and says, I want to be average. Nobody decides to live a small life or settle for less than they could have. And yet most people end up exactly there, not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack opportunity, but because they slowly drift into a state that feels comfortable but costs them everything over time. The dangerous part about being average is that it doesn't feel like failure. It feels normal, it feels safe, it feels acceptable, and because of that, most people never question it. Before we go deeper, if you want to understand money psychology and how to actually break out of the patterns that keep most people stuck, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because this is the kind of content that can completely change your perspective. Let's start with the first hidden cost of being average: opportunity. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you are not just staying where you are. You are giving up something better. But here's the problem. You don't see what you're giving up. You only see what you keep. You keep your routine, you keep your habits, you keep your environment, and because nothing breaks, nothing forces you to change, but in the background something is happening, you are slowly disconnecting from your potential. Now think about this. If you repeat the same day for 5 years, how different will your life be? Not much, and that's the trap. Average doesn't destroy your life instantly. It slowly limits it over time. And I want to ask you something. Are you moving forward or are you just maintaining your current situation? Be honest and write it in the comments. Now let's go deeper into the financial side. Being average has a cost, and it's not small. If you earn an average income, live an average lifestyle, and make average decisions, you will likely stay in the same financial range for years, maybe small improvements, but no real breakthroughs. But here's what most people don't calculate: the cost of not growing. If you could earn 2,000 euros more per month, but you don't, that's 24,000 per year over 10 years. That's 240,000, and that's without even considering investments or compounding. So being average is not neutral, it's expensive. Now let's go deeper into mindset. Average thinking is reactive. You react to problems, you react to opportunities, you react to situations. But high-level thinking is proactive. You create, you plan, you design. And this difference changes everything, because reactive people live inside circumstances, while proactive people shape them. Now here's where it becomes dangerous. Average thinking feels logical. It tells you to play it safe, to avoid risk, to not step outside your comfort zone. And in the short term, that works. You avoid stress, you avoid uncertainty, you avoid failure, but in the long term, you also avoid growth. And without growth, there is no real progress. Let's talk about habits. Average people don't necessarily have bad habits. They have neutral habits. They don't push them forward, but they don't destroy them either. And neutral habits are dangerous because they create stability without progress. You wake up, you work, you rest, you repeat. Nothing breaks, but nothing improves significantly either. Now imagine replacing just 1 hour per day with something that builds your future. 1 hour of learning, 1 hour of building, 1 hour of creating. That's 365 hours per year. And most people never do this consistently. Not because they can't, but because they choose comfort instead. Now, let's talk about environment. Your environment shapes your standards. If everyone around you is average, average becomes normal. And once something becomes normal, you stop questioning it. This is why changing your environment can change your life faster than changing your mindset, because you stop comparing yourself to average and you start seeing what's actually possible. Now let's talk about identity. If you see yourself as an average person, you will make average decisions. If you see yourself as someone who grows, improves, and builds, your behavior changes automatically, because identity drives action and action creates results. Now here's something even more important. The cost of being average is not immediate, it's delayed. And delayed costs are the hardest to see. You don't feel them today, but you will feel them in the future, financially, mentally, emotionally. Now let's go deeper into something most people never consider: the cost of not deciding. Most people think mistakes are expensive, and sometimes they are. But what's even more expensive is indecision. When you don't decide, you don't move. When you don't move, you don't learn. And when you don't learn, you stay exactly where you are. Time doesn't pause while you're thinking, it keeps moving. And every day you wait, the cost increases, not because you are losing money directly, but because you are losing progress. Now let's talk about comparison. Average people compare themselves to people who are slightly above them, and that creates comfort. They say, I'm doing okay. I'm not that bad. I'm better than most. But if your reference point is low, your growth will always be limited. Now let's talk about security. Most people believe staying average is safe: stable job, predictable income, no big risks. But average is not safe. It only feels safe because the risks are delayed. Inflation reduces purchasing power, opportunities, past skills become outdated, and slowly, without noticing, you fall behind. Now let's talk about time money can be earned back. Time cannot. Every year you spend in the same position, doing the same things, thinking the same way, is a year you cannot recover. And this is where the real cost of being average becomes clear. It's not just financial, it's life experiences. You don't have freedom, you don't reach potential, you don't explore. Now let's talk about people. The people around you shape your behavior more than you think. If the people around you are comfortable, you become comfortable. If they avoid risk, you avoid risk. If they think small, you think small. Not because you want to, but because it becomes normal, and normal is powerful because you stop questioning it. So one of the fastest ways to change your life is to change who you spend time with, because different environments create different standards, and different standards create different results. Now, how do you actually break out of being average? Not with motivation, because motivation is temporary. You need structure, you need systems, you need rules. First, raise your standards. Decide that average is not acceptable anymore. Second, create daily actions that move you forward every day, not once a week. Third, track your progress, because what you measure improves. Fourth, surround yourself with people ahead of you. And finally, accept discomfort, because growth and comfort do not coexist. Here's the truth. Your life is not defined by one big decision. It is defined by small repeated choices, choosing comfort or choosing growth, choosing average or choosing better. And the dangerous part is you don't feel the difference immediately, but over time, the gap becomes massive. So the next time you choose what feels easy, ask yourself, what is this decision costing me in the long term? Because the real cost of being average is the life you could have lived but didn't.